Don't be afraid of fractions, they're so simple. This is a half. The top number is the numerator, bottom denominator. Equivalent fractions. A half is the same as 2/4, which is the same as 50 over 100. But we'll need to work this one out. So what do we have to do? We have to make our denominators the same. So to get from 2 to 4, we multiply by 2. So therefore we do exactly the same to the top as we did to the bottom. So we multiply our numerators. 1 times 2 is 2. So 1/2 equals 2/4. It's the other way round this time. We're dividing. So we divide 15 by 5 to get 3. So we divide 5 by 5 and we get 1. So 5/15 is exactly the same as 1/3. We use this to simplify fractions, such as 8/20. Divide your numbers by the same number, so dividing by 2 for a nice simple step. 8/20 is 4/10. We need to make it smaller, so we divide it by 2 again. So 4/10 is the same as 2/5. We're doing the same to the bottom as we do to the top. We have to use these techniques to find common denominators to perform maths with our fractions, because otherwise you won't be able to work out how to add, subtract or divide, multiply 1/6, 2/3 and 3/4. We'll have to use our knowledge of times tables to work out what it is, and in this case it's 12 because we know that 6, 3 and 4 are all multiples of 12. We need to multiply our denominators to get to 12 so that we know we need to times by 2, 4 and 3 as we go across to make sure that we get 12 every time. We do the same to the top as we did to the bottom, so we're multiplying by 2, by 4 and by 3. So we now know that 1/6 is 2/12, 2/3 8/12 and 3/4 are 9/12, so we can perform other calculations with our fractions. We can add fractions, including mixed numbers where we have a whole number and a fraction, such as this, 2 3/4 adding to 1/3. First of all, we have to make our mixed number into an improper fraction by converting our whole 2 into quarters. So we have 8/4 and 3/4 is 11/4, which we can now add to our third. We now need to rewrite this with a common denominator. So we use those techniques of finding which is the lowest common denominator, in this case 12. So we multiply our numerators by the same amount we multiplied our denominators by to get 33/12 and 4/12. Now we just add the numerators, so we get 37/12. As always with fractions, you have to write the simplest answer. So in this case, 37/12 is 3 and 1/12 because we divide 37 by 12 to get 3 and there's 1 left over. It's a similar technique for subtracting fractions, such as 3 2/3 subtracting a half. So we could change our mixed number to an improper fraction. In this case, we'll end up with 11/3, but we still can't take away a half. We have another step to do. Once again, we have to convert to a common denominator. In this case, it's 6. So we do to the top as we did to the bottom. So we get 22/6, take away 3/6. So now we can subtract the numerators, so we end up with 19/6. But of course, we will still need to simplify this. So simplifying it, we end up dividing 19 by 6, we get 3 and 1/6 left over. We use the same techniques for multiplying fractions. We change our mixed number to an improper fraction, so 3 1/3 becomes 10/3, which we want to multiply by a half. This time we multiply our numerators and we multiply our denominators. Nice and simple. We get 10/6, so of course we're going to have to simplify this fraction again. We convert to 1 4/6 and then have to simplify again to make it 1 2/3, because that is the simplest form of this fraction. Dividing fractions uses the similar techniques. First of all, we convert our mixed number to an improper fraction. So in this case, we get 19/4 divided by 1/2. But we can't do that directly. We have one more step to do. We have to turn our second fraction upside down, and then we can multiply our numerators and then our denominators to get the fraction, which we will need to simplify. We have 38/4, which becomes 9 2/4, or in its simplest form, 9 1/2. So we have looked at all these different ways of dealing with fractions. Hopefully it's made it simpler for you, and if you want any more maths answered, then just drop me a comment below. Thank you.